Every time night is about to fall, this man sprays alcohol on his front door. As soon as he gets home, he first cleans his dog. The moment he sees the sun beginning to set, he immediately fits special steel plates and locks the doors and windows. Even though there is not a single light on in the house, he still does not feel safe. He clutches his rifle to his chest and curls up with his dog in a blanket. Only then does he find some peace. The reason he takes such strict precautions is that as soon as darkness falls, the outside world ceases to belong to humans. Terrifying hordes of zombies roam the streets, spreading terror. Because about 5 years ago, in 2012, a virus wreaked havoc. This virus killed 90% of humans while 9% turned into zombies. These zombies fear sunlight. They come out only at night, and their sense of smell is incredibly sharp. Our story's main character, Will, was spared from this virus because he is among far less than 1% of people with a strong antibody. Will drives his Ford Mustang through the deserted streets of New York, chasing a deer in the middle of the city. In this world where he is now almost entirely alone, food has become the most basic and essential need. But just as he is about to make the kill, suddenly a lioness pounces and corners the deer before he can get it. Watching the prey taken, Will thinks about killing the lioness. Then a male lion and a cub appear. Seeing the three makes Will remember his dead family. He does not fire because he knows lions keep nature's balance. Before going out to search for other survivors, he goes to his underground medical room to check whether the mutant rats used in his experiments have returned to normal. He doesn't notice any difference yet. Will is a brilliant scientist. He developed a gene therapy based on a vaccine for the virus. When he thinks today will be another disappointing day, he notices one mutant rat no longer has the strength to attack, which tells him the rat is slowly returning to normal. If the experiment done on rats succeeds, he could turn those zombies back into normal humans. Every day at 8 a.m., Will leaves his house to search for survivors and zombie nests during daylight. He drives to a video store each day, swaps a step, and checks in with the mannequins he has placed there. No one could imagine how lonely a person might be who has to treat mannequins like friends. He marks every place he visits on a map and gathers food and supplies from those locations. In search of other survivors, he calls on the radio every day at noon and drives to the pier hoping for a miracle. 3 years pass and he never receives an answer. To ease his loneliness, Will goes to the Enterprise aircraft carrier in the afternoon and stands on a plane to play golf. During this time, his dog notices something strange. There is movement in the distance. Will immediately grabs his rifle, looks through the scope, and sees a deer. Without delay, he sets off with his dog to hunt. But a bad accident happens. The deer panics, runs around, and accidentally becomes trapped inside a closed building. Perhaps the dog hadn't had meat for a long time, so it fearlessly chases inside the building. Will tries to stop him. He panics, but for his dog he must go inside. Inside it is completely dark. Nothing can be seen. Even if I adjusted the video brightness, the atmosphere still feels darker and more terrifying. At this moment, Will's heart races wildly. Even a mirror could frighten him. As he goes upstairs looking for his dog, suddenly he hears a painful scream. Afraid something bad has happened to his dog, he comforts himself and moves forward. Following blood stains on the stairs, he comes around a corner and finds a severed animal head. The relief is that it was just a moose recently killed, but the fear on the moose's face before death is clear. Seeing this, Bill draws his gun and looks around. Then he witnesses an even more terrifying sight. Before he knows it, a horde of zombies is less than 5 meters away. Will steals his courage for his dog and goes inside. He finally finds his German Shepherd under a table, terrified. As he steps forward to call the dog's gaze locks straight at Will's back. Will feels something is wrong. When he turns, a horrifying scene confronts him. Will and his dog run madly toward the exit, but they are ultimately seized by the zombies. The good thing is Bill manages to jump out of a black window in time, and as sunlight hits him, the zombie immediately collapses to the ground. Though the experience frightens Will, it also reveals a net. Will sets a trap outside to experiment on the zombies. He takes a vial of his own blood and places it at the building door while hiding outside. Truly, within just 2 minutes 30 seconds, a zombie falls into the trap. When the trap activates, one live zombie is forcibly pulled out, but then a terrifying faced zombie bursts out with a furious roar. It seems to want to devour Will alive. He cannot understand why this zombie is so enraged. Back home, Will experiments on the zombie. He has no idea that this female zombie is actually the queen, roaring just now. By capturing her, Will triggers an all-out war between the zombies and humans. He was the only living human in this city, but he is surprised when he sees a mannequin's head move. Even scarier is that a mannequin that should have been at the video store's doorway somehow appeared kilometers away. Bill draws his gun on the mannequin, thinking some human left it to talk to him, but no humans are around because this is actually a trap the zombie king set in revenge for Will capturing his wife. When Will goes to the mannequin and bends to inspect the water spilled beneath it, the trap set by the Zombie King activates and Bill is hoisted into the air. He loses consciousness from the blow to his head. When the sun is about to set, Bill wakes to his alarm. As the sun's light dies, the frightening zombies emerge. Bill draws a knife from his waist and frantically cuts the rope binding his legs. As he falls to the ground, the knife slips and plunges into his chest. Things become worse because the sun's last rays are disappearing. Will feels strange noises coming from the dark building ahead. At that moment, the Zombie King appears and releases 3 ferocious hunting dogs. Sunlight protects him and keeps them from reaching him, but after a few minutes when the sun goes down, the zombie hunting dogs attack violently. Our main character is wounded, hanging between life and death. His only ray of hope is his German Shepherd. This German Shepherd has accompanied him through the apocalypse. It is his only companion and reason to live. He fears his German Shepherd will die. There's a pistol in the car. Will crawls toward the car, but as the last rays of the sun vanish, the hunting dogs intensify their assault. With little time left, he forces himself to rise and move forward on his hands. After a few steps, he collapses. The ravenous zombie dogs pounce on him. Will stops their attack with gunfire. Then another zombie dog leaps at him. The hunting dog's sharp teeth nearly tear his cheek, but the German Shepherd arrives in time to save him. But now the worst is about to happen. The second dog bit the German Shepherd during the fight. Will's heart sinks because only he has the antibody, not the German Shepherd. Back home, Will immediately gives an antiviral injection, cradles the shepherd, and prays he will recover. He smiles and reassures himself that his dear companion will be okay. Then the German Shepherd begins to lose fur. When Will lifts the dog's eyelids, he sees signs of the disease in the corners of its eyes and lethal symptoms in its mouth. Will's heart breaks. Reality forces him to a painful decision. Unwillingly, Will uses his strong hands to strangle the beloved companion that had kept him company through countless lonely black nights. He is utterly shattered. At this time, Will also discovers a strange problem. When an infected person turns into a zombie, they have very little brain function, yet they can set traps as cleverly as humans. When he looks at the passenger seat and finds no trace of Sam, Will can't bear it anymore. So that night he jumps into his car and drives straight to the docks and begins an unplanned assault on the zombies. Because he's in a car, the zombies can't harm him much, but they overwhelm the vehicle and begin smashing the glass. Some zombies climb onto a lamp and knock it down onto the car. Will gets trapped inside. He sees the crowd approaching and tries to get out, but more zombies arrive. The zombie leader orders an attack. Before Will can react, a crash flips the car against the curb and the monster stands before Will. He is trapped like a terrified deer. Death approaches every second. Then suddenly a bright light appears as if a human is coming toward him. Finally he can't take it anymore and blacks out. When he awakens, he finds himself lying at home with a bandage on his leg wound. A woman is beside him with a child. 3 years have passed since he last saw a human. He doesn't know how to speak to people anymore. The woman introduces herself as Anna. Anna tells Will she heard his broadcasts on the radio. She came to New York with her child and waited all day, but Will never showed. She planned to go to Vermont because it had a safer area for humans. Will's face fills with anger. He tells Anna there is no safe place anywhere. All of America is ruined. Anna tries to argue with Will, but he yells at them. He always believed he was the only living human left, which had put immense mental pressure on him. In despair, he had focused entirely on science and logic and devoted himself to finding a cure. His whole life and hope were pinned on that one goal. Anna's news suddenly changes his thinking entirely. She says there are other survivors. That means Will's long loneliness and effort might not have been in vain, because a living person now stands before him. Will wrestles with his thoughts and emotions in his room for a long time. Finally he accepts reality and comes out. Anna persuades him to come with them to quarantine John, but Will flatly refuses. He says he will not leave. Then Anna goes to Will's lab. When she sees the female zombie lying on ice, she can hardly believe her eyes and asks Will if he can really heal this zombie. Anna sees hundreds of photos of zombies on the wall. Will had used them like lab rats to make a vaccine. As the sun's rays dim, Will quickly locks all doors and windows. Anna tries again to convince Will to go to the quarantine zone, but before he can answer they hear heavy commotion outside. Will opens a small window and discovers a massive horde of zombies moving toward his house. Will cannot believe what he sees. He had always tried to hide his scent, yet a huge crowd of zombies somehow found his location and are rushing toward them like mad beasts. When he asks, he learns that the woman had brought him to a safe house but later did not follow the necessary precautions. Now is not the time for blame. Will immediately turns on every bright light in the area. Surprisingly, the zombies who usually fear light have become cunning. After destroying the street lights, they rapidly approach Will's house. Frightened, Will activates his secondary defenses and triggers all the bombs around him at once. When he looks again, every zombie is killed by the explosions. But when he calls Anna, there is no answer. He rushes upstairs and at that moment a zombie attacks him. It grabs him, lifts him, and throws him to the floor. Helpless, Will becomes its brutal prey. As the zombie thinks Will is dead, it doesn't realize Will was faking. Will seizes the opportunity to grab a screwdriver and strike the zombie, but the blow does no damage. The zombie lifts him and throws him down. As the zombie king growls in rage and approaches, Will snatches a rifle from nearby. The zombie slips away as if it understands how dangerous human weapons are. Will fires wildly, but the zombie hides behind a wall. He then shoots a gas cylinder. The explosion sends the zombie tumbling out. It does not appear seriously injured, and it disappears up the stairs. Will follows, finding it escaped through a window. He rushes back inside to find the woman. There is another zombie in the room and the woman and child are hiding terrified in a closet. Will signals for them to stay quiet and prepares to eliminate the zombie with his pistol. The zombie sees them, and to protect them Will must enter and face it. He fires, but a loud noise comes from outside. When Will opens the door, the zombie king is roaring. He had gone to fetch more of his forces. Terrifyingly, this attack is not random destruction but a coordinated plan. Will sees the zombie commander outside the window and feels uneasy because the zombies no longer behave like animalistic creatures. They seem to have intelligence. The three of them run to the basement. Will locks the man doors securely and Anna hides the baby in a wrap. Then Anna sees something miraculous and calls Will. The vaccine Will created is taking effect. The zombie king's wife is slowly turning back into a human. But then more zombies break inside. Will quickly slams the glass door shut. He tries to tell the zombies he can turn them all back into humans. To the zombies, however, Will himself looks like a terrifying monster. Not only does he capture and experiment on their fellows, this time he even kidnapped the zombie king's wife. The zombies' entire army seethes with fury. As the zombie king repeatedly slams the glass door, the door begins to give. At this moment Will notices a butterfly-shaped mark on the woman's neck. Seeing the butterfly makes something click for him. He immediately takes a container and draws serum from the woman's body because her blood can create an antibody. In other words, it can produce a vaccine. He draws the serum, sends the woman and child safely through an underground route, hands the serum to the woman, and closes her gate. The zombie king smashes the glass. In that exact moment Bill pulls a grenade pin and charges into the horde. And that's where this magnificent movie ends. So tell me, how did you like this movie? If you liked it, share it with your friends, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, see you.